Sadiq Khan took the moderate position that President Trump is pretty much like ISIS. Watch.
Because what you're saying is not dissimilar to what Daesh or so-called ISIS are saying. What do they say? They say there's a clash of civilizations. It's not possible to be a Muslim and a Westerner, or, you know, the West hates us. And you're inadvertently playing their game.
Nigel Farage is the former leader of UKIP, the UK Independence Party. He has spent years pointing out the dangers lurking around the world, and he joins us tonight. How'd this guy wind up mayor of London, Nigel, and is he for real?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I think he's lost the plot, hasn't he? I mean, how on earth can you compare Trump to ISIS? ISIS is a barbarous, murderous regime that inflicts countless misery on as many people as it can. And Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, and maybe the mayor doesn't like him, but Trump actually is standing up, defending our Judeo-Christian culture, and is doing it in the face of extraordinary opposition from judges in America, from people in his own party. But honestly, I do think Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, is, to put it mildly, wide of the mark with these comments. They are ludicrous.
What does the rest of the UK think when they look to London and they see this guy as mayor? I mean, it must be... I mean, this is the seat of the British Empire. This was a really impressive place for hundreds of years, and this guy's running it?
Yes, I mean, look, let's be frank, you know, he is not particularly high caliber. He's been elected in a city that is now increasingly a Labour left-of-centre city. I mean, do remember that a lot of people in Britain are nervous, are a little bit politically correct, are scared perhaps of saying some things, but it's also worth remembering that over the course of his political career, Sadiq Khan himself has made some real mistakes in terms of who he shared a platform with. You know, he shared a platform with some guys who've turned out to have some Islamic views that are pretty unsavoury, and I honestly, I think conservative Britain looks at what Sadiq Khan says, frankly, shakes their head and examines their shoes.
That's very British of them, I have to say. So do you see across Europe, as you look what just happened in Germany, and as you look what is happening in Spain with Catalan independence, is the continent coming apart? It looks that way a little bit from here.
Yeah, in many ways it is. I mean, look, you know, you've heard the story over the course of the last few months. The populist revolt is over. Macron has won in France. Merkel is back in Germany. But the truth of it is, what you saw happening in Germany yesterday was, for the first time in decades, a party that is unashamedly German, a party that is talking about their own identity, running their own country, deeply sceptical of being run from Brussels, getting 90 seats in the Bundestag. So yesterday is a big day in Germany. And for those who comfort themselves that Macron won in France, well, in the first round of the French presidential election, nearly 50% of candidates voted for secessionists. So the message here is we may not have had the big seismic shocks of Brexit and Trump that we had in 2016 happening in 17, but believe you me, the momentum, the movement of those that say we don't want to be elected, run by unelected supranational cabals, that is still growing, that is still gathering pace, and I believe me, Tucker, in 10 years' time, this European Union, as you see it today, will not exist.
That's right. And this entire finance-based international order is on its way out, I think, for good or ill. Nigel Farage,
67% want a ban on the burqa, but the immigration minister, who happens to be here tonight, says it would be un-British. Who is right?
Well, you've been talking a lot, Damien Green, so I'm tempted not to go to you first. But I won't. I'll come to you in a moment. Nigel Farage, who's right? The 67% of the British who say they want the burqa banned, or Damien Green, who says it's un-British to do that?
Well, Damien Green says that, but Caroline Spellman, who also speaks for the government, says that the burqa is empowering. Now, I find this concept absolutely extraordinary. The idea that a woman being covered up is somehow empowered, when it seems to me that her chances of being fully a part of society, her chances of getting a job have been severely diminished, shows me that this government has frankly lost its courage. It doesn't want to discuss this issue because, you know, the French have discussed this issue in their parliament. The Belgians odd country that it is, have discussed this issue in their parliament. The Spanish are about to, the Italians are going to, the Syrians this week have decided to ban the burqa on university campuses. It is banned in Turkey. So right across the Middle East and the Western world, there is a very serious debate about the burqa. I think that this is yet another issue where this coalition government, and I'm afraid the Labour Party too, show themselves to be completely out of touch with the vast majority of British people. And what people are saying is, look, we have been the most tolerant country in Europe. We have been the haven for people who have been fleeing oppression. We've given asylum to people. We want to be a tolerant society, but we don't want to live in a divided society. And I think the point about the covering of the face is we see this as a symbol of an increasingly divided and ghettoised Britain, and we don't want it. We want to live together, regardless of race, religion or class. We want to rub along together and operate in the same society, and we see the burqa being worn, you know, whether it's on public transport or in a bank or in an area where we couldn't cover our face. We see this as being a barrier.
So what's your policy? Where would you ban the burqa?
David, I don't think it's desirable to tell people what they should wear walking down the high street in Hartlepool.
But you just have.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. What I've said is that if I can't walk into you know, the local bank in Hartlepool wearing a balaclava, then somebody should not go in there with their face covered wearing a burqa. That's all I've said.
Well,
and I think
you didn't say that. It's the first time you said that. But what you
changed your policy this week.
No, never changed our. But we've always said we want equality in this country. We can't have a group of people being given preferential treatment, and it is a symbol.
So where you can't wear the balaclava,
yes,
the balaclava test really is what you're.
Well, it could be the motorcycle helmet, David.
Or the motorcycle helmet.
But yeah,
Sadiq Khan.
I don't think we should legislate on what people wear. I think it's patronising for us to tell people what to wear or what not to wear. I think it's ironic that we want to empower these women by criminalising it. We want to emancipate them by sending them to prison. And as objectionable as some of you may find, and as oppressive as you might find, that in some countries you've got to be forced to cover up, I think people will find it equally oppressive and unpalatable that we force them not to cover up. Nigel, and what was wonderful about our country is not just the tolerance, but the respect we have for each other, not just differences of opinion, differences of culture, differences of dress. And if it's the case that the mischief is a woman wearing a niqab or a man wearing a balaclava in a bank, then in that particular circumstances you can ask them to take it off, for example, in the airports, as they do. But to then make that into a bigger argument about they shouldn't wear it on the streets.
I haven't said that.
It's leading to division. You use the word division. I haven't said that. You use the word preferential treatment. I think that's just disingenuous.
Well, I haven't said it. I haven't said it today. So I haven't said that. Sorry, but I haven't said that. The French have, but I haven't.
Well, as a Muslim yourself, do you have any view about whether Muslim women should or shouldn't wear the veil?
No, I'm agnostic. I'm quite relaxed about it. I think as a man, I don't like the idea of me telling women what to wear. The idea, I would say, at my advice surgery, because your miniskirt is too short, I'm not seeing you. Because your nose is pierced, I find you objectionable. No. Or because you're wearing a niqab, I will not see you.
Different,
it's
Sadiq,
just
patronising. This is people covering their face.
You know, and the point is,
it's covering their face, and they're ruining their life chances, aren't they?
Well, listen, if you're concerned...
Do you want equality or not?
Nigel, if you're concerned about the life chances of British women in Muslim faith, why don't you make sure they do better at schools by investing more in our schools rather than closing...
Well, you had 13 years to do that, and you clearly failed to do so.
I want to encourage more to go to university.
The man up there. You know, the man in the striped T-shirt there, yes. You, sir. Up there at the back, yes.
Yeah, the balaclava question is hypothetical, but I have to remove my full-face crash helmet if I go into Tesco's to buy petrol.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And you said... OK, Damien Green, I'll come to you.
What would be the BBC's viewpoint? When we signed in today, we had to show a visual photo ID of ourselves, which wouldn't have happened with somebody in a burqa, presumably.
I don't know what... people do wear the burqa in question time. We've had...
So what happens when they sign in?
I imagine they show their faces. I don't think that's any big issue. Damien Green.
And nor is it when you come through immigration control. Of course you've got to show your face, to show that your face is the face of the person on your passport. So the whole security issue, which Nigel tries to raise, is a complete red herring. It's nothing to do with this debate. And I'll tell you why I said I thought a ban on the burqa was un-British. Because I think one of the best British traditions is live and let live, have mutual tolerance and respect for each other. And the idea that politicians should pass a law telling women what they can and can't wear is profoundly un-British. It's a big step towards a police state.
How can it be un-British if 67% of people
in one opinion poll.
Well,
I think we had 13 years of a government that would take one opinion poll and say, right, we're going to change policy now. And very often that's when the previous government, not all it did was bad, but that was when it was at its worst.
Okay.
But apart from that, think of the practical implications. That we would be sending the police out on the high streets of Britain to arrest young women for what they were wearing. Do you want to see that? And if they refuse to take it off, presumably they'd be fined, they'd be taken to court. If they refuse to pay the fines, we'd be jailing them. First of all, that would be the most tremendous waste of police time and court time and taxpayers' money. And secondly, I can't think of a single way of increasing divisions in our society than that the majority in society should say to one particular minority, indeed a minority of the 2 million Muslims in this country, to say, you alone